The one thing I did not expect from this phone is how popular or how good it performed in terms of views versus its higher spec sibling like the Redmi Note 11 Pro series and the Poco X4 Pro 5G. I mean, just look at the numbers of views of my videos. I guess it shows that most people have a specific budget when it comes to buying a mid-range phone today. And this phone, the Redmi Note 11S, currently costs 12,899 pesos in the Philippines. And at that price point, we're looking at a ton of competition, not only from other brands like Tecno, Infinix, and Realme, but also from Xiaomi itself, Xiaomi, Poco, and even Redmi. Considering how popular the Redmi Note 10 Pro was a year ago, I think these manufacturers are saturating this specific market to get a piece of that pie, and a dozen of slices of pie we get today. But enough of pie talk, we're here to talk about the Redmi Note 11S performed after more than 100 days. And today I want to tackle the question of whether or not the price of this phone is actually worth it. My answer, which is basically the entirety of this video, wouldn't be based on the spec sheet or the features you get from this phone. Because if we're going to talk about that, there are better phones out there, frankly speaking. But now we've seen the price to feature ratio of the new phones today, with manufacturers focusing on a balanced spec sheet than trying to stand out among the crowd. I feel like the money that you spent for this phone should be answered by the user experience. And what better way than to start with the performance of the Redmi Note 11S. But before we get started, here's a short message from today's sponsor. CityKey Offers specializes in delivering cheap and legitimate software and game codes. If you ever need a Windows 10 Pro or a Microsoft Office key, you can buy one at a very cheap price. To do so, just visit cityKeyOffer.com. Search for Windows 10 and choose a suitable copy for you, but in my case, I always go for a professional copy. Before making a payment, make sure to type in the RC20 code for an exclusive 30% off discount. After that, you can choose your preferred payment method. You will receive the code via an email that redirects you to the website of CityKey Offer, and from there you can get your Windows 10 key. Since my Windows 10 copy is already activated, I just can simply change my product key to the new one that I just bought. If you need a Microsoft Office key, the steps are pretty much the same. Just make sure to type in the RC20 code for an exclusive 30% off discount. CityKey Offer provides permanently valid keys with 30 days of return and exchange period. You can check out more deals in the video description below. Honestly, I was a bit skeptical when Xiaomi decided to use Helio G96. I would have preferred Qualcomm Snapdragon or at least the latest Dimensity chip, but for the past few months, the Helio G96 held up pretty well. When it comes to simple social apps and general tasks like listening to music or watching HD videos, I never felt I needed more. And since the Note 11S is paired with 8GB RAM and another 3GB extended RAM from the storage space, MIUI 13 is basically smooth and reliable here. And just so you know, I'm running on the 13.07 with Android security patch to April 2022. So for those who are just looking for a nice phone with good and reliable performance for the most popular apps today, no problem here. When it comes to more intensive tasks, at least with the set of games I've been playing, I've been mostly satisfied. I played Mobile Legends at the highest settings, and 95% of the time I was hitting 60 FPS with 53 FPS at the lowest. Dragon Ball Legends at 90 frames is a piece of cake for this phone, and the latest game from the makers of Dragon Raha, which is called Noah's Heart, is playable with an average of 30 frames at high settings. The game is capable of up to 45 frames, by the way, and considering it's under closed beta testing, the game still has room for optimization improvements. But to sum up my gaming experience with the Note 11S, unless I'm really serious about playing Genshin Impact on my mobile device, I have no problems with the way this phone performed. The only improvement I can see is a slightly better touch response rate in games, as I notice a bit of delay between the screen and my fingers' actions, but not enough to affect my casual gamer's competitiveness. This sentiment comes from me testing higher end and more expensive devices with the latest and greatest, so if you're coming from a lower end device, this shouldn't be a problem. As for the rest of the performance, I wish the haptic feedback was nearly as good as the Redmi Note 10 Pro, but instead it's nothing but a buzzy feeling at the tip of your fingers when you have to turn on vibrate on tap. It's also a bit hard to adjust to a single mono firing speaker when stereo speakers are starting to be the norm. And that 33-watt charger, I think it's still fast enough considering the Note 11S requires only an hour to replenish. It'll surely feel like a snail compared to the 60 watts alternatives out there, but when the 5000 mAh battery easily lasts a day and a half of use, waiting for an hour isn't a huge deal, unless you're always on call and needed very fast charging in just 10 to 15 minutes. And like I've mentioned, MIUI has been great to me these past few months. My Facebook Messenger notifications are no longer delayed, although my Gmail notifications and other apps like Trello would still receive late arrival. But what's important to me is timely chats and messages, and I'm just glad that we're finally seeing some improvements in that regard. As for the design of the Note 11s, I can only speak on the graphite gray sporting and matte finish. It's not hard to spot the fingerprint smudges and back from most angles, but when it comes to hand feel, this phone size just feels right in the hand. All thanks to the 6.43-inch form factor of the display that makes it comfortable to use with one hand and easy to pocket even with tightest jeans I have. As for the overall design, this look does start to stale compared to the latest phones today. But in any case, you're most likely to put a case on it. The display, however, has been more than enough. 90Hz definitely makes the phone faster and snappier, and the quality of AMOLED is still excellent given the price. I was also quite surprised to see, literally, the screen even in the middle of a bright hot summer day. But last time I took note of the over-sharpening effect the chipset does in videos, and that effect has mostly faded in the background. The sharpening effect is still there, but it's not as bothersome as it was before, especially when you play YouTube videos in 1440p. In fact, not even the more expensive Redmi Note 11 Pro and Poco X4 Pro could play YouTube videos higher than 1080p. And for someone who likes to pixel peep in videos, this is a feature I really appreciate. As for that camera, it's overall serviceable, but there are a few things I've noticed since our last review. Photos tended to underexpose at times, so I had to take a second shot of the subject to get the best result. The bitrate of audio recording is on the low end, which doesn't sound great if you're solely relying on the built-in mic of this phone. I feel like the stabilization has improved for both main and ultra-wide cameras, so that's a good thing. And the colors also have the tendency to look flat when shooting in 2x mode, regardless of the 108 megapixel mode. All in all, the cameras never felt like they were bad. They performed just right. And most of the output of these cameras is on the flat side, meaning it leaves the user room to edit, which is something I appreciate. So at the end of the day, for 12,999 pesos, did I feel like I got my money's worth? I surely did. Considering the quirks of buying a Xiaomi phone, the Redmi Note 11s performed above my expectations. We obviously have different priorities when buying a phone in this segment, but for someone who just wants a reliable performance with a display that looks good whenever I have to watch videos, a battery that lasts longer than a day of use, and software that's finally delivering notifications in time, the Redmi Note 11s performed and achieved for the past 100 days. Now, I wish Xiaomi put a better chipset in here as I feel like that would improve the overall quality of the cameras, and I wish Xiaomi didn't have to skimp on the speaker. But other than those things, the Redmi Note 11s is a solid phone. Now, would you be able to find a better featured phone than this? Yes, but right now, with the endless number of phones being released today, I feel like it's not just about the features anymore. It's more about the experience and how the phone performs and works with the user. So that's it. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel, and as always, stay safe.